All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Only Football. We're going to break down this Broncos game, and I was going to just go to bed and do it tomorrow, but uh, I feel like the gravity of this moment, I don't want it to come and go without fully appreciating what we saw today. And what we saw today deserves an immediate reaction. I had to stream Sunday Night Football. Otherwise, I would have done this already. But the Broncos win today was unlike anything I've seen in my 25 plus years of watching Denver Broncos football. I've never seen anything like it. And the closest thing I can even compare it to is 2012 being down 24-0 against the Chargers at halftime in a game I believe was Thursday night. And the Broncos came back and won. That's pretty much the closest thing. Now, in 2010, there was a lot of great comebacks with Tim Tebow, but those usually involve scoring around 10 points. What we saw today was 33 points scored in the fourth quarter. And I said this earlier. I said if I only told you two things about the game, number one, or let's say I told you only these things, right? Maybe not two, but just this, okay? Number one, the Number one, the Broncos aren't going to score in the first, second, or third quarter. Okay, that sucks. What else? Tell me more. Number two, the Giants are going to score in every quarter. Okay. Number three, you're going to be down by 19 points in the third quarter to begin the fourth quarter. Okay. The Giants are going to score more points in the fourth quarter than any other quarter in this game. And we're down 19 to start the fourth quarter? Yeah. Oh, okay. So we get blown out. You guys win. I mean, you can't make it up. The Giants scored more points in the fourth quarter than they scored in the first, second, and third. They actually scored in the fourth quarter their first half total, which was 13. They scored that just in the fourth quarter, yet even with two touchdowns in the fourth quarter and a 19-point lead going into the fourth quarter, it was not enough. The Broncos, this historic comeback, you just had to see it to believe it. And it was one of those things where after the game, we got Ginge in the chat, staying with the boys even late into the night. I love it. Right after this game, when Bo Nix was interviewed, the first thing he said was, I feel bad for the fans that left. So Bo Nix and this Broncos team, not only did they notice, but remember, they were getting booed. They were getting booed off the field. That was never, that never happened to Bo Nix. Even in his first start, second start, losing both of those games, the offense being inept. In no game had Bo Nix been booed until today. And I think a lot of it had to do with the emotions tied to this game. This is a game where Super Bowl 50 is being honored. Demaryius Thomas is being inducted into the Ring of Fame. So it almost felt disrespectful. And I feel like that's why I think without those things, maybe, Bo Nix isn't getting booed off the field, because I don't think that was a message. I feel like the fans that booed look back on it, probably regret it, because not just because they turned around and won, but because Bo Nix is in his second year in Denver. And, as fans, it's like you want your players to know that we have the greatest fans in the world. I mean, but when you're booing them off the field, it's like, okay, do they really have my back? Because it's like they're upset, but, we're upset too. But it's just bad. It's just bad, right? There are times where you should boo. I guess, being a Broncos fan, having those 10 years without a quarterback, there were plenty of legitimate reasons to boo. If you don't have the franchise quarterback, and the guy that they're going with has lost, time and time again, and they refuse to make a quarterback switch, something like that. Like, yeah, sometimes that's your best way, is to use your voice to send a message. But the Broncos booing today, it just felt like, what message are you trying to send? You're disappointed. They're disappointed too. Like, it's not, what do you want a new quarterback? You want a new play caller? Is that what it is? And that's why I feel like you can't really rationalize it. So I think it was more of just an emotional thing. And trust me, I felt that way too. Like, I was, booing on the stream, I think at a couple points, just because it was just frustrating. The drops, the penalties. I mean, we were getting beat in this game pretty handedly. It was not a good day, going into the fourth quarter. And Ginger said, I would call you high as hell if you told me the Broncos would come back in this game. And, I was writing it down, like, as we were in the game, like, okay, what does this look like? Okay, Denver's going to come back into this game. How are they going to do that? What is the path? And it was getting touchdowns, getting that first 2-point conversion was huge. And now, really, when you look back on this game, every single point that they got was massive. They got 2-point conversions. They both turned out to be equally as important, because that's what ultimately led to a field goal being enough to win by 1. And with them missing 2 extra points, it's a 4-point swing right there. So every point in this game was extremely crucial. The Broncos, this win it'll probably never be topped. And that's kind of crazy. And that's why I wanted to come on here and stream, is because I don't want this moment to get passed without acknowledging, like, I'm 31 years old. However many years I have left, there's a very good chance I will never experience what I saw today. Now, there'll be other comebacks, but 33 points in the fourth quarter. Now, just for context, the 33 points the Denver scored being, I guess, prefaced by 0 points in the first quarter, 0 in the second, 0 in the third. No team has ever scored 33 points in the fourth quarter after being shut out in the first, second, and third quarter. So what we saw today was historic. It was one of one in a way, like, not even in Broncos history, but just in the NFL. If you're getting shut out in the first 3 quarters, that team doesn't turn around and score 33 in the fourth quarter. This is just kind of one of my golden rules of why I never walk out of games. Like, I just don't do it. As long as I can, like, math the comeback in my head and it doesn't require 3 onside kicks, I'm not going anywhere. Even if even if I'm like, they got to score. And, like, in this game, there was really no reason to ever leave, in my opinion. Like, it was deflating, it was frustrating, but at the end of the day, like, we went into the fourth quarter and it was like, if we score and go for 2 and we have 8 and we do that again, we have the whole fourth quarter ahead of us. We get the ball back, score and go for 2 again. It's 16-19. It's a 3-point game with potentially like 6 or 7 minutes left. Why would you walk out of a game when you're about to score that first touchdown and you have, 7 minutes to do it again to make it a 3-point game? And yet fans ended up walking out of the stadium, not at that point, but when the Giants on 3rd and 19 got a tipped ball caught into the tight end's hands, who ends up scoring a touchdown, and it pretty much wipes our last touchdown off the board. It gives them that 2-possession lead, and all of a sudden, that was the moment where fans started to leave, because it was like, oh my God, like, that was the one thing we couldn't happen. And it felt like, man, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's about as bad as it could be. Like, you go from them having to punt it and you're only down 3 to being down 10 points. And now you're running out of time. And like I said, it wipes out that last touchdown, but this team just kept fighting. They kept putting their nose down and going to work and scoring drives. Bo Nix had like 6 fantasy points at halftime. He ends the game with 40 fantasy points. That's pretty incredible. Um, this win catapults the Broncos to a 5-2 record, and they are in sole control right now of first place in the AFC West. This is their best start since 2021. And for a team that's stumbled out of the gate, remember they were 0-2 to start the season. Or I'm sorry, 1-2 to start the season, because they were able to beat the Titans, but then they lost to the Chargers, and then they lost to the Colts. Not in that order. Colts and then Chargers. But it was just stacking wins, and this was one where you felt like, oh man, this one is going to get away from us, and instead Denver finds a way to get it done. This game is going to be all over the news tomorrow, and I can't wait. Like I said, trailing 19-0 entering the fourth quarter, and they find a way to get the walk-off field goal, a 39-yarder in the final seconds. And Will Lutz, man, I mean, man, what a kick, right? Just all the pressure from everything building up to that moment, and he puts it right through the uprights. There was never a doubt about it. And you got Ginger saying on DT day makes it sweet. I was a genuine Broncos fan. I love that. And I feel like around the world, there was a lot of that. Try 33. Yeah, 33 is pretty incredible. 33 unanswered points. You got to love that, right? But it wasn't just a comeback. Like I said, it was a record-shattering game that to the likes of one that the NFL has never seen before. There was a 1,602 NFL game streak where teams leading by 18 points with 6 minutes remaining have won. Think about that. 1,602 games in a row have been won by the team leading by 18 points with 6 minutes remaining. And today, Denver snaps that record. Their 33 points in the fourth quarter is tied for the second most in NFL history, only behind weirdly enough, behind the Detroit Lions in 2007. Part of me feels like I vaguely remember this, maybe a Thanksgiving game, but yeah, the Detroit Lions in 2007 scored 34 points in the fourth quarter, but Denver's right behind with 33. And they set a new league mark for most points by a team shut out through 3 quarters. And that was the 1981 Atlanta Falcons, who were shut out for 3 quarters, and then they scored 31 points to rally. Denver was able to score 33 to rally. So Bo Nix, I mean, look, he was incredible. And I said it when the fourth quarter started, I believe, on August 5th. And I remember the date because it was my birthday. Bo Nix created his official YouTube channel. And his video that he dropped was him like doing his training, running sprints, hitting the gym, calisthenics, throwing the ball. And he was talking to his trainer, and he was like, I might be a psychopath. Because like those moments where, you have to have a touchdown and there's no timeouts, the ball's in your hands. He's like, I live for those moments. I love those moments. And you saw that today. Like you saw this kid just doesn't flinch. If anything, and I'm not saying it like maybe, there's no doubt about it. He gets better. He rises to the occasion. Now, do we want to see more of this in the first 3 quarters? Yeah, but it's not Bo Nix that's not playing good in the first 3 quarters. It's the entire team. Between the penalties and the missed assignments, Justin Stranad, letting the Giants run for like a 50-yard touchdown run. You had Alex Singleton giving up a big touchdown. Of course, Alex Singleton's been struggling in the coverage all day. You had that stupid pass interference on Riley Moss. It's like, you got to know that you can't get a PI in that situation. You're going to put him on the 1 yard line. You might as well just try to, it's a tough play that the receiver's got to make, see if he makes it. If he doesn't make it, that's a 50-yard swing. But if you give him PI, it essentially doesn't matter whether he makes it or not. You're putting him on the 1 yard line. Like, as a DB, you just have to be aware of that. This could have happened in the Philly game. There could have been a late call on JL Skinner. It was a no call, thankfully, but it would have put them inside the 5. So, like, I just want to see this team play a little bit smarter. You go back to the Chargers game, and there's Hufanga gets called with the personal foul on unnecessary roughness when Justin Herbert's sliding down. That ended up to being costly. I think one of the weirdest thing, and no one has said this, it's something I've thought about. And maybe me saying it here, it'll gain some traction and it'll be discussed on a national stage. But so far, I think I'm the only one that noticed that Sean Payton marching on the field after Riley Moss got called with pass interference. When Sean Payton was so pissed, he came onto the field and started yelling at the refs. That is what. Now, I don't know if Sean did this on purpose, but that won us the game. That won us the game. And the reason I say that is because we know Jackson Dart, at first it wasn't called a touchdown. On second glance, he extended the ball and just broke the pylon or the line, and it was considered a touchdown because he breaks the goal line. But imagine this. He, by an inch, scored that touchdown. If Sean Payton doesn't get called for unsportsmanlike conduct or whatever they call what, the the head coach being on the field yelling at the refs, whatever they called that, it was a 15-yard penalty, but it was half the distance of the goal. If that doesn't get called, Jackson Dart is running the QB sneak, not from the 1 yard line, but from the 2 yard line, which means Denver's defense doesn't give up a touchdown right there. Instead, he goes to the 1 yard line. And you know what that means? The clock is going to tick. The Giants are going to let that tick down probably to 20 seconds. And then they're going to run a QB sneak again. They're probably going to get it. And who knows? Like, Denver might not even get the ball back. If they do get the ball back, we're looking at 10, 15 seconds. I mean, but because of Sean's penalty, that QB sneak, like, we got the ball back with almost a minute. So I think that penalty really was kind of the best thing that could have happened to us in that moment, which is just ironic. Something that was supposed to be costly ended up being the reason we win this game. Jinja gifting a membership. Love it. Thank you, Jinja. And he said, another one tomorrow night. Hell yeah. Love to see it. Thank you, Jinja, for keeping this channel alive. But yeah, man, the fact that that penalty gets called ends up being a blessing in disguise. Now, for Bo Nix, he became the first player in NFL history to record 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single quarter. It's never been done before. Nix finished with 174 passing yards. Actually, that's not true. Hold on. Because I saw his passing yards. Let me pull him up. Player stats. Bo Nix, 279 passing yards. 279. 200, almost 300 passing yards. Wow. So Bo Nix finishes with 279. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple other box score things. No interceptions today. 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 carries for 48 yards. So Bo Nix overall accounted for, let's see, 80, 20, about 337 yards of offense, somewhere around there. An incredible day. You had 6 catches from Cortland Sutton, 6 from Mims, 5 from Ingram. Nate Atkins had 2 touchdowns. You saw Troy Franklin get in the end zone, 3 catches for 19 yards. Tyler Batty had 2 catches for 19 yards. Cortland Sutton averaging 14 and a half yards per reception. That's pretty good. And then you saw Bo Nix averaging almost 10 yards a carry with his 2 touchdowns. So, but yeah, Bo Nix, first quarterback to have 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in the same quarter. That's pretty amazing. Amazing stuff right there. It tied him with Baker Mayfield for most fourth quarter comebacks since entering the league into 2024. Since he came into the league, him and Baker Mayfield both have 6 comebacks. And it's funny because a lot of people all offseason have been saying Bo Nix reminds me of Baker Mayfield. And then there's a lot of Bo Nix fans, and not just Bo Nix fans, but commentators that are like, Bo Nix is way more athletic than Baker Mayfield. And then there's another group of people that are like, hey, being compared to Baker Mayfield's a good thing. Like, this isn't a bad thing. And they're like, I know, but like, I've seen them both live. Bo Nix is way more athletic. Whatever the case is, they do seem like they have a lot of similarities. They have a lot of swag. They're just gamers. You saw Baker Mayfield have a lot of success right out of the gate. And I do believe like Bo's going to continue to get better. And that is, definitely the case with Baker Mayfield. He continued to get better. But it was really bad there for a point. This game was not what we saw in the fourth quarter. It was not. You know, it was just the game was terrible, and the next thing you know, Will Lutz is kicking a game winner, and you're sitting there going, "How did this happen? How did they do it?" I think Jackson Dart, as a rookie, you got to be really impressed with what you're seeing from Jackson Dart. He was able to come into Denver, first road win almost since week 4 of 2024 against Seattle. They haven't won a road game since last year in week 5. In Jackson Dart on the road, 283 passing yards. That's not bad stuff, man. That's not bad. 283. Wow. And I think when it comes to Jackson Dart and the Giants, you guys got your future quarterback, okay? I want to give credit where it's due. The Giants played a hell of a game, man. And I know it sounds like tongue in cheek because it's like, oh yeah, how hard is it for you to say that when you're, feeling Rocky Mountain High? Like, oh yeah, you guys played a good game. I really mean it. Like, you guys played us. I mean, look what it took to win. It took literally a miracle, which it says more about you than us, in my opinion. Like, Denver shouldn't have been in that position, but they were because they made a lot of mistakes. And I don't mean that in the way where it's like, how come every time, a team beats a team, instead of saying you're better than us, it's always, oh, we made a ton of mistakes. But it just happens to be true. Like, we had a ton of drop balls. We had a ton of penalties. There was a ton of self-inflicted wounds. But good teams, when you play good teams, they make you pay for that, right? We played the Jets last week. We had a ton of mistakes. They didn't make us pay for our mistakes. We were able to get a win in spite of it. But when you play a good team, and they'll preach it all week, hey, we can't make these mistakes against this team when you're playing a good team. You will pay for it. They will capitalize on your turnovers. They will capitalize on your penalties. You give them a free first down when they were supposed to be punting, you're going to lose those games. The Giants were one of those teams today that you're like, wow, they exploited all of our mistakes. They capitalized on all of them. It's pretty incredible stuff. I mean, this is a guy that just started 3 games ago. He wins against the Chargers. He has a down game against the Saints, and then just like embarrasses the Philadelphia Eagles of all teams, right? You're like, wait a minute, the Eagles? Like, how did he beat them the way he did? He was amazing. And then today, coming into Denver, in the moment was just not too big for him. This was a really intense crowd, and yet Jackson Dart was not rattled at all. Now, Sternad's interception swung the momentum. That is why we won, arguably. It's that play right there, because we get the ball and it puts us on the 20-yard line, so it's like we don't have to go very far. But Jackson Dart should be allowed to make one bad throw and not lose the game, considering all the good he did. But like I just said, good teams make you pay for your mistakes. That's what Denver did. It cost them the game. That one mistake cost them the game. So I believe Denver is a really good football team. And I know some people are going to be like, not me. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the way they're winning, but good teams, like I said, they make you pay for your mistakes. And Jackson Dart made one bad decision. And they almost had a bunch of interceptions. Like, there was 2 that went in the hands, and 2 Broncos bump into each other trying to catch the same ball. Like on that final drive when Jackson Dart rushed it in, Denver should have ended that game on 3 separate plays. On 4th and 19, they didn't pick up the first down, but because of the roughing the passer, they were gifted it. That would have been the end of the game. Take a knee, go home. Then on the next play, or the play before that, they had an interception. It got dropped. The play before that, it happened again on the right side. And then we saw it after with the deep shot downfield, and 2 Broncos catch it and bump into each other. And Brandon Jones ended up having to leave the game. And it was like, oh my gosh, like the fact that the Giants were able to score on that drive. Jackson Dart threw 3 passes that should have been easy interceptions. And instead of that happening, they score a touchdown and take the lead. It's like, oh my God. Like, you guys have to capitalize on that. Like, it was so frustrating because it was like I went from Denver won the game when they got the stop on 4th down to, oh my God, how embarrassing. I just told the whole world Denver won and the Giants won. Just for Denver to win again, it was just unbelievable. And it's like Denver doesn't capitalize on the bad throws, the Giants score. It was every team was capitalizing on the other's mistakes. Sternad's interception, though, it was the game, right? It was everything. This is the first Broncos comeback from an 18-point deficit with 6 minutes left since 1970. And I said this going into the game, the Broncos have the best winning streak at home in the NFL. They extend their NFL home winning streak to 8 games, longest in a decade, and improve Sean Payton's home record. Also, Sean Payton's record when trailing by 10 points at halftime after, they were down 13-0, he was 0-15. That was his first win for Sean Payton when being down 10 or more points at halftime. I got to double check that. That seems a little weird. But anyway, how does this game stack up in history? Well, this 19-point rally doesn't top Denver's all-time list. That goes to a 31-point comeback versus the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers in 1997. They overcame a 31-point deficit. Or the 19-point fourth quarter surge against the Colts in 1983. The Baltimore Colts, it was a 19-point comeback. And then you got 18-point San Diego Chargers in 2012. No, they were down 24-0. This is a phony chart. Chargers were up 24-0. Yeah, this is a phony chart. $24. Yep, 24. I knew I was right. The 1997 comeback was 31 points from 28-0. Well, that sounds like a 28-point deficit. I'm going to verify some, whatever. It's top 5. You got 5 really good comebacks. This is right there with those 5. But, I mean, the last one that's even remotely close to this is the Chargers. And look, being down 24-0 at halftime, like, that is, I don't care what anyone says. Yes, 24 is greater than 19. You had an entire second half, though. That is vastly different than being down 19 points in the fourth quarter and then being down multiple possessions with 6 minutes left. Like, this game, if you just pull the number, like, oh, they were down by this much, and here's all the other games where they were down by this much and won, I feel like it doesn't do it any justice because, like, this was, I mean, look, all I need to say is the Broncos had a 0.3% chance of winning at one point, and it was 99.7 for the Giants, and they won. Like, that is all I really need to say about this game. But Dart, electric. I believe 3 passing touchdowns in this game. Yeah, 3 passing touchdowns. Only 1 interception, although that one cost the game. He had a rushing touchdown. And look, I don't know what the Giants are this year. Can they be a scrappy team? Yeah, they already are. But can they be scrappy enough to get into the postseason? Probably not. And I was going through the NFC earlier today, and I'm like, there's really only one spot available. Because if you have the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers going to the playoffs, and then you have the Packers and the Lions, that only leaves, you got 5 teams right there. Then you got to add the division winner in the NFC East. Let's say it's the Eagles for now. And then you have to add the division winner in the NFC South. Let's say it's the Bucks. There's 7 right there. You're done. You're out of playoff spots. So in order for the Giants to be a wild card team, they have to have a better record than the Packers or the Lions or the Niners or the Rams or the Seahawks, like one of those teams. And like, do I think the Giants can become that? Probably not this year. But here's the thing. With the defense that they have, Dart, Abdul Carter, I mean, look, this team is loaded with talent, and it's amazing how just having the quarterback right, like, if Jackson Dart would have started week 1, maybe it would have been possible, but the Giants having to lose 3 games in a row before starting him, it hurts a little bit. But I think you look at next year and you're like, okay, if we could draft like a legit RB1, like get the best running back in the draft, we get Malik Neighbors back. I mean, wait till Malik Neighbors gets to play with this guy. Theo Johnson's starting to look good. They got other guys like Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, this could be like the Colts next year could be the Giants this year. Like, the Giants could be one of those teams that's like, you don't want to play this team. They're 5-1 by week 6. Like that, the fact that the Giants are playing at this level after the way they started the season, like anything could happen. Like the Giants could win the next 9 games in a row and be cemented as a playoff team. We just have to keep watching. But if you would have told me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said you're crazy. And Jackson Dart, like it's so much more than just saving the season. Like it's like he saved like the joy of football for an entire state of people, for hundreds of thousands of fans out there. Like, he made Giants football mean something when it hasn't for a long time. Like, the Giants have been bad for a while, and now all of a sudden they're must-watch television. Like, Jackson Dart did that. So you got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done. This defense and this team is going to continue to be tough. But today it was about Denver getting the win. And for Knicks, like, they're going to have to figure out how to play a more complete game, because the Dallas Cowboys next week, they're going to be tough, man. You saw what they did to the Commanders today. The Dallas Cowboys are trying to win their division. They're not interested in a wild card spot. CeeDee Lamb is back, and he's already scoring 80-yard touchdowns. They still have George Pickens. They got a great tight end. Javonte Williams is running well. Dak Prescott's an MVP candidate. So, like, next week is another really tough challenge, and Denver's going to have to show that they're ready for it. But today was a tribute for Demaryius Thomas. Like I said, he is in the Ring of Fame. They inducted him in at halftime, and I think it's fair to say that this team channeled his resilient spirit for this rally. Couldn't be more proud. I think for all the fans that walked out of the stadium, well, I don't have to wish anything bad on them, because they are already going to have to deal with all of the punishment that comes with finding out this team won. Like, imagine that. Imagine being a fan walking out and seeing that your team scored 33 points in the third quarter, and you had a ticket to that game, and you left to beat traffic, only to get home, turn on ESPN, and see Bo Nix running and celebrating, and Will Lutz getting lifted up by Broncos. And you're just like, oh my God, what did I do? Yeah, that's why you don't walk out on your team. Like I said, I don't have to wish anything evil, because that feeling, that pit in your stomach that they're going to feel seeing the Broncos won that game, I think that's punishment enough. Okay? But if you haven't learned, let this be a learning lesson. Let the Ravens Bills look, never say never. Okay? There is always a chance to come back and win. And you guys, I'm seeing a lot of teams like, oh, this one's over. And it's like, you're down 10 with 7 minutes left. Like, no, it's not over. We are seeing comebacks every single week. You shouldn't even be that surprised. Like, this is a different level, but there's fans out there that are so quick to give up because they care so much that if they feel like, oh, I don't even care, they lost, if they feel like they can have control over it, where it's like, I'm not going to give my hopes up, because then I can't be let down. So I'll reverse psychology and I'll just not care. Oh, we already lost. That way I'm not surprised or let down when we lose, because I already made up my mind that that's going to happen. I just think that's just pathetic. Like, that's just so weak. Like, you're so scared of being let down that you won't even believe in your team. Like, ew, get over yourself. Like, look, there, like, being a fan is being vulnerable. Yeah, you put yourself on blast every single week. Every week I make a short going, the Broncos are going to win by 30 points. Like, whatever my prediction is, like, yeah, I put myself out there to being clipped and post and made fun of, the next week when Denver loses. And it's like, oh, and then they go in the comments and they're like, not talking so much now, it's like, yeah, you put a target on your back, as if you're a fan that records and posts and engages. But who cares? Like, yeah, I thought we were going to win. I wasn't lying. We just lost. But whatever, like, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But at the end of the day, like, people just want to say gotcha, and then they move on with their life and they don't even remember. Um, so, like, just don't make it that big of a deal. Like, don't quit on your team, just don't do it. It's absolutely, it's like, show me a fan that says they're going to stop watching their favorite team. I'm not watching any more games. I turned the game off at halftime. I knew what kind of game it was. It's impossible that that's a real fan. A real fan could never turn the game off. Like, that's just, we'll start there. But unfortunately, we have a lot of fans that, like, say they're fans, but really they give up on their teams. They talk terrible things. Like, on Twitter, they're saying the meanest things. Man, if you go back through Twitter, just look at all the things that were said about the Denver Broncos. And now all those people, I'm thankful for the ones that didn't delete their tweets. At least they're like, yeah, I said that, whatever. Because, like, people are going back and looking at it and it looks hilarious. Jen just said Nick's fourth was nuts. Yeah, hell of a fourth quarter. He went from like 6 fantasy points to 40 in one quarter. But we're gonna have more on this tomorrow. I just wanted to put something out there. I'm gonna listen to the press conferences and some other things, and then tomorrow I'll have more football. I've been streaming all day, so I just wanted to put something out there for Broncos country. Thank you, Jinja, for being in the chat. I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll be breaking down all of Sunday football tomorrow. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you, Bill. Sorry about your Giants. See you!